Welcome to The Hats. The Hats is a weekly podcast hosted by licensed marriage and family therapist and author Melissa Dumaz and attorney and business owner Kerri Harper-Howie. Listen in for practical tips on how to keep your hats upright, how to handle life when one of your hats gets lopsided, and plenty of real-life solutions to help you balance the many hats you wear daily.
Hello, Hatters, and welcome back to the Hats Podcast. I am your co-host, Melissa Dumaz, and I'm here today with my co-host.
Hi, Hatters. This is Kerri Harper-Howie. I'm glad to be back with you again.
So today, Hatters, we are talking about the personal diversification hat. And I know that may sound like a lot. And as you know, we're in season 9, where we're talking about being boss babes, being boss bitches, whatever you want to call yourself, we are here for it. However, we did not think that it'd be possible to talk about what it's like to level up, what it's like to be a boss babe, without talking about how we diversify our hats, how we diversify our businesses, how we diversify our income. And Kerri said, "Oh, of course she agreed to my idea on this episode. That's a great idea." And what made you agree? What made you say, like, yes, this is something that we should be talking about?
Well, I mean, the hats is by definition diversification, right?
Amen.
Like, we can't do what we do, live how we're living without believing that we are and want to be and want to pursue diverse things. So it makes sense that in this particular context, really business diversification is so important because that's really how you begin to level up, but in multiple different fields, right? You want to make sure that you're doing things that can grow and thrive in totally different areas. And that's not easy.
Right.
So I was like, yeah. And you said you had the perfect guest. So I said, yeah.
I did. I said, I have the perfect guest for today's episode, and I believe that I do. And she is here with us today, and Kerri is going to take a moment to read her bio, but I want to introduce Danielle to the Hat Podcast today.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
We're so happy to have you, Danielle. So everybody out there, this is Danielle Spangler, and I want you to know, Danielle gave us a bio, and then she was like, "Oh, and I forgot to put that. Oh, and I forgot to put that." So I have my notes that I'm going to work with, but this woman is so diversified. It can't even really fit in one place. So I'm going to try to do you justice, Danielle, by reading this bio about you. As a mother of 3, Danielle understands the physical challenges women face during pregnancy, childbirth, and recovery on both a personal and professional level. Danielle has been a fitness professional since 1992. This fueled her passion for helping pregnant women and new mothers through this physical and emotional journey, thus giving her the expertise of pre- and postnatal fitness specialist. Danielle has worn many hats in the fitness industry, including group fitness instructor, personal trainer, and master trainer, group fitness manager, content creator, and fitness presenter, and since 2019, a small business owner of a boutique Pilates studio called Beach Life Fitness Boutique. Danielle has a BS in kinesiology and received credit towards her master's of science in exercise physiology with an emphasis in pre- and postnatal fitness from the University of North Texas. In addition to her degree in movement, Danielle has several different personal training certifications, including Gray Institute Certified Applied Functional Science, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, AFAA, and Cooper Aerobics Institute of Dallas. After working as the pre- and postnatal master trainer for the prestigious Sports Club LA for 5 years and giving birth to her first child, Danielle wrote the Prenatal Fitness Continuing Education course for the NASM. Danielle has also written for and consulted with publications such as Fit Pregnancy Magazine. Danielle created the Bionic Mommy program in 2015 after working in corporate fitness for many years and observing a lack of safe and effective exercise programming for the pre- and postnatal population. Most recently, Bionic Mommy has evolved into Core Mom and is now Beach Moms Fitness. Under her core mom training curriculum, Danielle's goal is to train other qualified fitness professionals and group exercise instructors on teaching pre and postnatal small group classes using her methods. Danielle is also the owner of several restaurants. She owns Lozios and Pura Vita, which is the first vegan restaurant. Sorry, it is the first vegan Italian restaurant in the United States, and there are multiple locations of this place. And Mel, who is a vegan, her whole family is vegan, has already said in our preparation moments, the food is delicious.
It's so good.
At the end of our episode, we will make sure that Danielle has the opportunity to share how you can find her Pilates studio and her restaurants, so you can go visit yourself. But in the meantime, once again, welcome to the show, Danielle.
Thank you.
We're so glad to
Great
have you here.
job.
Oh. I mean, I definitely tripped over some words there, which I don't like, but I just do my best at any given moment.
Yes,
You did great.
yes. We're so happy to have you. And Danielle, you have successfully built a variety of businesses over the years, from different industries, fitness to wellness to hospitality. So can you tell us and tell our audience what inspired you to diversify your entrepreneur portfolio in this way?
We're crazy. I say we as my husband and I. But what happened in 2018 is that I had created a program that had grown and grown, and I was working at a studio that inevitably had to close. It's in the South Bay, and unfortunately, rent was a little unaffordable. And so I found myself in a position where I had to reach out of my comfort zone after working for other studios, from corporate studios to box studios, and trying to figure out what I was going to do next, because I had a really long list of clientele and an actual group fitness class that I performed multiple days a week. So I was kind of thrown, as I think a lot of small business owners are. It's kind of at that pivotal moment where you have to make a choice, and you're going to open up a brick and mortar or an online, platform. So I found a studio, and part of my background, ironically, my husband and I both worked for a all-inclusive resort after college called Club Med. It's a pretty well-known international resort back in the 90s, and I taught fitness for them for a couple of years, but I found this woman who owned a Pilates studio in South Redondo who actually worked for Club Med with my husband.
Wow.
So, and I'll go into that in a moment, but at Pura Vita, the chef also was a connection from Club Med as well. Amazing. So a lot of our things in our life come back to that. My husband and I both worked in Club Med, but not together. So going back to the business, I was sort of in a position where I had to make a choice and pull the trigger and get a brick and mortar. And I was scared to death because I knew I was going to be married to it. And I had 3 children, but we took a leap of faith in March of 2019. So exactly 1 year before COVID. It was great timing. But I learned a lot. Obviously, the studio's been open for almost 7 years. It's grown leaps and bounds, and I've learned so much. So I think a lot of it is risk taking. It's having faith in yourself and just wishing for the best. And as far as the restaurant, the same thing basically happened. My husband was in a position where he was working as a producer, and the production company closed. He was friends with the chef who wanted to open Pura Vita. She also had left her job, and so they both came together to decide if we were going to help her open up the first restaurant. And so all of our businesses have been built on a risk-taking and I guess maybe a little naivety. But we have enjoyed the journey. It's been, highs and lows, I'm sure, with like everybody's journey, and you learn basically on the job.
Yeah. I mean, so many things in there I want to touch on. And it sounds almost like, you found yourself in moments where you decided, I'm going to do this. And even if you didn't have a choice, you could have chosen to get another corporate job, or your husband could have chosen to find another production studio, but you really decided this is the moment to do the thing that I have a passion about. And I love also that, in both of your different types of businesses, there was an expert on site. So you were your own expert in fitness, but you found a chef. So it wasn't kind of like, let's figure out some recipes and open up a restaurant, which lots of restaurants fail, and you are expanding, which is a really incredible tribute to you and your husband as business people, but also to have the foresight to bring people on to support you in your different ventures. So I just love what a lovely story to be willing to take that risk. And also, quite honestly, and Mel and I talk about this a lot, to have a partner in that risk. That's got to help a lot. So I love that you and your husband are able to do it together. You have similar passions, but you've been able to expand those passions into various different businesses. That's amazing.
Yes, I'm very lucky. I have a very supportive partner. He was very encouraging when we were trying to decide what my next steps were in fall of 2018. We went to look at the space, and I just said, I don't know if I can do this. This is a big undertaking. And he goes, I think you should do it. You've got this. You've got this. And he's always been my biggest cheerleader besides my parents.
Yeah, I love that. And, I will say I have been to your Pilates studio, and it's big. It's not just like when we think about a Pilates studio, if you've ever been to one or seen them online, it's, it's not always a big space, but you have multiple levels, multiple areas where people could come and do different types of workouts. You offer different types of workouts. So I don't want to paint the picture small, guys. Like, this is a big space. So when she says it was a big undertaking, not just mentally and emotionally, but the space is really large as well. The other thing I'll say too that I think is a part of your secret recipe, if you will, like, I heard that risk taking was a big piece. I heard that being willing to pivot was a big piece. And I heard that stepping out on faith was a big piece. The other piece that I will say, which people who don't know you yet may not know, is your heart. Like, you have such a big heart, Danielle. You have a big heart for the work that you do, but you also have a big heart for community, and you have a big heart for helping people. Like, I've come to Danielle and was like, I'm doing an event for a nonprofit and I need space. And she's like, what do you need? Whatever you need, I got you. And I know that part of that is because of relationship that we have, but I think that that's who you are, even outside of relationship that you have, that you're just really passionate about what you do and what you offer and being there and being a pillar in the community. So thank you for having such a pure heart as well.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that.
So I'm wondering, kind of following up on Mel's pure heart, some of it, there's got to also be that keen mind, and there's got to be strategy that leads into diversifying your different businesses. And so I'm interested to know, what mindset or strategies do you adopt that allows you to shift confidently between these two very different industries?
Well, I think that, to Mel's point, I've been immersed in the community where we have our two businesses. West Hollywood, when we opened Pura Vita, we didn't have that same connection to the community. However, the chef did. She lives there and has been there for quite some time before we opened up our first restaurant. And not that you have to be part of the community that you're opening a business, but I certainly feel like that helps because the community knows you. I raised 3 children in Redondo Beach. They all attended the schools there, the public schools there. I was a big part of the PTA. I worked for a nonprofit that was really designed for, which is kind of off of fitness and wellness, but environmental responsibility. So I actually went into the schools and taught them how to sort trash and so on. But so a lot of people knew us in that community, which I think really helped. I'm also a very authentic person. I don't know how else to be. I came here in 1998, and I guess that was one of the things I was surprised about in Los Angeles in general. However, the South Bay has sort of a different hometown feel to it. I've always been, who I am is who I am. I try not to pretend to be anybody else. And so I think that leading with authenticity, people really can see through when you're not authentic. And I think they want to support a business that has true intentions. I do love leading as well, and I have had the same group with me since day one at the Pilates studio. I have all the same 5 instructors working for me, 4, I was 5. And we've grown. Now we're up to 16 instructors, and we started only with, I think, 40 members, and we have 200 members now and over 70 classes a week. So to your point, it has grown a lot, and I do think that I try to lead with love and caring, but also a little firmness. And of course, I have been in a leadership position since I was younger, starting in the fitness industry, but, having your own business and leading with that. And of course, with the restaurant component, I'm not as hands-on there, but I am involved in some of the minor decision making. My husband more or less is that side of it, but kind of the same idea, because they are very different industries and attract very different people to work there and so on. So we both, he's also a born leader, being in the production world, and this has been almost like recreating his production background working in the restaurant. So yeah, I think that there's no secret sauce, but I do think that whatever we brought to the table with being authentic, loving our community, and really wanting to bring wellness and health in general with the restaurants and with fitness, people can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that fitness and food go together very well.
They sure do.
Or they should. Otherwise,
Right.
you're not going to get fit.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Very true. And then the other thing, as we're talking about today's hat being about diversification, what I hear as well with the skill sets and the mindset and the strategy that you and your husband bring to the businesses is that your skills are diverse. Like, you've diversified your skills from one setting to the next, and rather seeing it as like, oh, I'm starting completely over, I'm taking these tools and these resources and these skills that I have gained and putting them in a different environment and allowing them to shine, and still growing and learning in that way as well. And I think that is beautiful. There was one other point that I wanted to make, and it's trying to leave me because perimenopause is real.
Amen.
Let me jump in for
Yeah,
a second while you
absolutely.
keep thinking. I love that when we asked you about strategy, you kept it so simple and you started with community and authenticity. There's really no substitute for that. I also am a businesswoman. I'm in the restaurant industry, as our hatters already know. We take a tremendous amount of pride of getting to know the people in the community. And I remember a restaurant opened in my friend's neighborhood, and the first thing she said about it was they didn't even introduce themselves to us.
Mm.
And this was a very neighborhoody neighborhood.
Mhm.
They want, and I think that people are really interested in authentic connection. And so when that is your strategy and your formula, and you layer that, as Mel said, with the expertise, it just seems like such an incredible recipe for success. So thank you for keeping it simple. It can be, I have my business plan and we did this and then we went to the bank and you didn't even start there. You started with, I think, just very human connection pieces. And that to me is just always a winning strategy.
Yes,
Thank
I agree 1,000%. And I'm glad that you went, because you definitely ignited the thought that I had.
Partners.
Right, yes. And so I'll share that thought in a moment, but I agree with Kerri, and I know that today's episode is about you and your business, but I will highlight Kerri for a moment. There was a time where something happened in one of her restaurants, and the first thing that she said was, how's my staff? How's my team? It wasn't about what did they take? Who are these people? But it was immediately about her team and her staff and making sure that was okay. And it wasn't direct conversation with me, but I was in the room when the conversation was happening. And it was a moment of like knowing that your friend is a good person, but being reminded of like how of a good person they are and a good business person they are. So kudos to you. And Kerri is being true and authentic when she says it is about putting her people in the community first. So the thought that I had when you were sharing, Danielle, about knowing the community and like the value of giving back to that community and showing up for the community reminds me again of something that Kerri's mom has taught Kerri and has taught all of us about whichever community you're working in, you're not there to take. You're there to give back and to pour back and not just take their resources or to build yourself up, but you're there to build that community up as well.
Agreed. And I do a lot of philanthropic work. I'm also a Redondo Rotarian. I don't know if you know much about the Rotary. It's a global organization, and they do global philanthropic work. Like they even go to Africa or other places and provide clean water or build wells in villages, from something bigger like that down to the exact community where we help kids that can't afford glasses get glasses, or Meals on Wheels, that kind of thing. So I got involved with the Rotary Club almost 2 years ago. But at the studio, we do something called Puppies and Pilates, where we partner with a local dog rescue. And most of the earnings that we collect from that, we give back to the rescue. And we also give the rescue an opportunity to showcase what they do to the community. We go out at the Super Bowl Sunday, 10K goes right by my studio. So we go out there and just cheerlead everyone starting at 7 in the morning on trampolines every year. So we do, that's like just an example of a couple things that we do, but we do numerous things over the year because, to your point, I think that it's the responsibility of the business to provide that community, giving back to the community. And we've really, really enjoyed doing that.
That's awesome. Now we need the rest of the world on board with that message.
Yes, absolutely.
PSA.
So we talked a little bit about how you're in partnership with your husband, but I think that the fitness industry in particular is one in which women can truly find a place and thrive, right? So I'm interested in how you believe diversification and owning different types of businesses is a particular opportunity for women in business.
Yes, I mean, fitness is a great opportunity, especially if you're a mother and you can find the flexibility. I think that is a bonus of working in the industry because you can work hourly, you can make your own schedule, you can also find your niche, whether it's working with other mothers, maybe it's more on a rehabilitation front, but regardless, you can also go online and do it virtually now. So there are so many opportunities. I mean, I really encourage, obviously there's a lot of trainers in Los Angeles, and one of the pet peeves I have, because I actually have the education in the background, is when people call themselves a fitness professional with actually out having those credentials and that experience. But you have to start somewhere. And I encourage you that if you are interested in pursuing something in the industry, that you do get the right qualifications and don't just experiment on your friends. And then say, I'm a trainer. So I feel like, going through the process is a really great thing for women, and it is a good level. It is a good industry to jump into. I wouldn't say that it can be very profitable, especially at first, but what industry is, you have to start at the bottom. You have to climb the ladder, so to speak. And the more experience you get, the more people will recognize that you're an expert in your area, and you will build a clientele from there for sure.
Yeah, again, love that you started with motherhood, because I think that is a huge struggle for a lot of people who are interested in entrepreneurialism. There's study upon study upon study. I actually, in my group chat, a colleague of mine showed a project that her granddaughter had done, and it showed the pay disparity. So, and there was a very distinct, which I don't know that I appreciated, disparity, not just between men and women, but between women who do have children and women who don't have children.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
The young woman, the young girl, showed it in Legos. And so it was like women with children, women without children, and then men.
Wow.
It was such a dramatic difference. So I think I'm glad that you started there, because I remember Mel and I have a friend in common who also, early in her children's lives, she started a business, and it was like, bring your kid and we'll work out with the kid, And so I love that you've been able to craft something that's uniquely yours. And then if you are single or you don't have kids, you also can find your way in this industry as well. It seems like there's so many opportunities. And you said it, you do pre and postnatal as a specialty. There are, bodybuilders, and there are people who are rehabilitating. Like, there's so much in this industry, and differently accessible types of training or education, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can get the personal training certifications, you can do your degree in kinesiology, you could become a rehabilitative specialist. There are so many different ways. I would imagine it seems like you can get access to this industry, which is beneficial for everyone, right? So many people
100%.
need this industry to be thriving.
I agree. And actually, what's hot right now, and you guys might be able to relate, is menopause, right? And so my training as a pre and postnatal fitness instructor specialist. Coming full circle now, I'm postmenopause, and a lot of my clientele are my age and going through the same things. So I know a lot of women my age that are really kind of interested in knowing all the things related to the health and fitness and menopause, and it really is hot right now. So there are so many opportunities. And when you think, oh, the industry is so saturated, to an extent, but there's always things that we're learning. I always have said this from day one in the industry. The one thing we should know the most about is our body, but we know the least about.
Right, very true.
And the fitness industry is only recently started to come up to the level of recognizing that women should not train like men, and that fitness programs are more designed for men. Fitness equipment is more designed for male bodies. So we have actually had a better understanding of that for, I'd say, the last decade, and we're getting better. But there's so many different avenues that we're just now, and the biomarkers are really hot right now, understanding like how all your biomarkers are affected by your fitness and what you eat. So there's so many places you can go with this. Yeah, it's really exciting right now.
Very cool.
Yeah. And one of the key things I heard in that is no matter how saturated the business is, if that's your calling or your passion, to still enter it.
Mhm.
And one thing that I know, and you may experience this as well, Danielle, with being a therapist, like, yes, there's a lot of therapists out there too, but people invest into business with you,
Mhm.
you specific, because you bring a certain flavor that maybe the Pilates instructor studio down the street does not. And so keeping that in mind, that like if you've been called to it, to still show up because people are going to invest in you because it's you and
Mhm.
because they're in relationship with you. And so I do have one last question. And my question is about, what advice would you give to women who want to expand their streams of income, or who want to expand their business ventures but feel a little overwhelmed? But in that question, I have a very specific question. And that specific question is, as you've expanded your streams of income and expanded your business and businesses, one thing that you said at the beginning is that opening your Pilates studio, you knew that you were going to be married to it. And then you've also said openly that you are married. You have a husband, been married for many years, and now you have a restaurant, or multiple restaurants. How do you find the harmony between being married to your business in your marriage?
Oh, balance? Is that what we're talking? Oh man. So balance is, I don't know if that exists. And it goes in waves. I was thinking about this because I was wondering if that would be a question. And I did find some balance for a while. There was a couple of years where we had no businesses opening, and it was amazing. But, I think that the key is, you just really have to prioritize your time with your partner and for yourself. Like, you have to see friends, you have to have time for self-care, and you have to treat it like any other important doctor's appointment or whatever. I'm not always the best, but it goes in waves. Like, we just opened a restaurant on Mother's Day. We've obviously not really had a lot of downtime, and my studio manager just recently took maternity leave, as I was explaining. So I know I'm in that time right now where I'm 100% on, but I also have a vacation planned soon, so I can look forward to that. So I guess planning out ahead, knowing that you're getting a break, knowing that you can also delegate is so important. And I think that's really hard for people to let go of, especially when they're fairly new entrepreneurs, is finding your team, treating them great, like to your point, and also trusting them. And I think that when you can let go a little bit, then things flow. And it's a very hard decision to do that, but it's a necessity because it is so overwhelming running multiple businesses and just being a person. and and you have to just kind of slow down, I think, and take that downtime for yourself so that you don't, implode. Yeah, that's good. Don't implode.
Yes, don't implode and delegate. And we have an episode called The Delegation Hat. So delegate, don't implode, be intentional. And I love the put something on the calendar to look forward to. Okay.
The other thing that I have to assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, actually, I think you said it, but it's really about understanding that this comes in waves. Nothing is just completely persistently miserable forever, right? So it's
Absolutely.
really kind of, and you for at this point in your career and you're in your life have the ability to and the wisdom to see, okay, I've been through this before. I'm going to get to the other side of it. I know how to get to the other side of it. But should you find yourself in a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I am on 100% of the time. I'm completely exhausted. And for the foreseeable future, I will be. Note that that future is foreseeable, but there's something beyond it, right? There that you can't see it all. You can't see all the way into the future. So just know that, as the saying goes, this too shall pass. This moment of shall pass, and you will get through it. Sometimes you just got to put your head down, get through it. And you're like, at some point, she's going to come back from her maternity leave and she's going to come back to a business that understands moms.
Yep.
It's going to help her get fit again and, all the things. So, really just trying to gain that perspective, which can be hard when you're in the middle of it, but ultimately knowing that you'll get there. So I love that you did say that. I remember my mom talking about that in her early business days, and there was a point in time where she was working a full-time job and also training to learn how to run restaurants, and had kids. Me and my sister had a husband, had life, and it was exhausting. It was very, very challenging, but she got to the other side of it, and she was able to ride that wave for a while, and then who knows whatever else came along. Many things,
Life,
I'm sure.
life. Yeah, absolutely.
Women are
absolutely.
tough.
Yes, we are. We are resilient. We are tough. And I've heard, and maybe the research behind is that women can endure pain a lot more
Yes.
than men. I mean, and clearly we bear children, so there's that. And we have a monthly cycle if we're not in menopausal, but so there's that. But to the woman that wants to expand her income streams or her business ventures but feels overwhelmed, what words of wisdom would you give her today?
Setting goals is super important. And it's funny because I do a little bit of manifesting. I think I didn't really realize what I was doing for many years. Ironically, I thought about this not long ago and I went, oh my goodness. When I was in graduate school, I took a class to learn how to create your own business. And they said, create your own dream business. And I actually created a boutique studio that included multiple levels of different classes and different styles going on. And I obviously forgotten about that. Years passed, and here I am basically living out what I had written down when I was 20-something. I do this annually. I try to set goals for the business. I write them down, and I think about them. And most of the time, we hit those goals. And I think, again, there's a really strong, powerful connection with manifestation. I'm not an expert in it, but I think that if you want something, you write it down and you think about it and you practice telling yourself that it can happen. So I think that's been really powerful for me because I've reflected, I've come across notes that I wrote myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, that's pretty awesome. Again, goal setting, I'd say, again, with the authenticity, don't always assume that other studios or other businesses that you're in the same industry as are doing the same thing that you're doing. I think that I was surprised because I thought, oh, all the boutique studios in town are as friendly and welcoming and inclusive and all the things that I try to be. And I've had clients come to us and say, we love this studio because we feel taken care of, and they did not feel that same way at other places. And that speaks to the restaurant too. Like, we try to go above and beyond and take care of our guests and give them that level of service. So I think that you have to reflect on what kind of service you're providing and being authentic again, and not assuming that other similar businesses are doing the same thing. I think that we get in our head with the competition. We base our pricing from the competition. We base our services from the competition. Don't stare at social media and try to base your decisions. That is not rational thinking. And I actually read a great book designed for people in my industry. I wish I could remember it off the top of my head, but she had owned several Pilates studios. And she said, your pricing is based on simple math, your overhead, your payroll. It's not just a number that you come up with that you feel like you deserve. So if you're looking at a similar business and they're underpricing or they're pricing much less than you are, don't freak out and say, oh, maybe I should lower my prices, because you have a value and you also have to meet your bills, and your payroll may look differently or your overhead may look differently than the other business owner. So I think that those are some really important lessons that I have learned. And I think that if you're trying to expand and grow, these are really things that you want to consider. I also am huge on collaboration, because you cannot do anything by yourself. I'm a huge collaborator. I like to work with businesses that align with me. I talk to physical therapists in the area, even medical doctors, anyone that I feel needs to know about what we do, and I want to know more about what they do, and we work on a really great referral process. I actually have 4 full-time tenants within the walls of my studio, Beach Life Fitness Boutique, that are also in the wellness industry. One is a Rolfing therapist, so she actually does body work on individuals. It's a really cool service. She's been with me for 3 years. I have another one that has a body sculpting machine that really is beneficial for lymphatic drainage. She's also been with me for 3 years when we expanded and opened the Pilates studio upstairs. We also have a nutritionist now that works at the studio full-time in her own office, and we have an esthetician. So I have these in-house services that I can directly refer to, and they in turn also work with us. But I also have outside businesses that I've connected with that we have a great relationship and can work in alignment together.
Yeah, I love that. That what I took out of what you said was your core values remain with you wherever you are.
Mhm.
Customer service, kindness, doesn't matter what the industry is, it doesn't matter what you're serving, what you're offering. Your core values are your core values, and they don't change. And so that is what you take into whatever business you are in. And then you did not tell us that you were also in the landlord business.
I know,
Essentially, right?
Yes.
You are renting space to
Yes.
people,
I
right?
forget about that.
Another area of diversification. So very cool. I love that, again, you are very complex and diverse, but your foundation is so simple. And I think that to me, I would imagine that is a tremendous amount of a tremendous part of why you've been as successful as you have been.
Thank you. Pivoting and always trying to find what works is just a thing you have to have in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Those were such beautiful tips, and they were very practical as well, which I think is really helpful. I know sometimes as hatters, we're like, all right, I need a 1, 2, 3. What's the 1, 2, 3? And you have provided the 1, 2, 3 and more.
Thank you.
So Danielle, if our listeners want to come and work out with you, if they want to come and enjoy your yummy vegan or non-vegan food, or if they just want to keep in touch with you, how can they find you? How can they find your businesses? Please let our hatters know.
Thank you. So Beach Life Fitness Boutique, we have an Instagram, which is just at Beach Life Fitness Boutique. We also have a website, which is beachlifefitnessboutique.com. We offer Pilates, mini trampoline, rebounding, which is great for menopausal women. We offer strength training, circuit training, the pre and postnatal program that was mentioned, dance fitness, Zumba, sound bath, yoga. We have, like I said, a ton of things on the menu. And then speaking of menus, we still have Pura Vita, which is the vegan restaurant in West Hollywood. And that can also be found on Instagram. It's Pura Vita with a T. We also most recently opened Lozio's Osteria in Redondo. It's right next to my Pilates studio, and it's a full Southern vegan experience. The chef is actually from the Sorrento, Italy area, and he makes the most beautiful and delicious Neapolitan-style pizza. So you can also find us on Instagram at Lozio's Osteria, and we also have a website, which is loziososteria.net, I think. It's pretty new. We are going to be opening a second location for that in the new Portugal. I think it's called West Harbor in San Pedro, hopefully early next year, the end of this year. And it'll just be it won't be a full Osteria, which is a restaurant. It's going to be out the window pizza and gelato, which is still yummy. So thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I will be visiting all of these places. I'm very interested in the classes that you have to offer. So Mel and I are going to make a commitment to come down. We will figure out with our schedules how we'll get there together, and then we'll take some pictures and we'll have some hugs.
Yes,
and
I have been. Yes,
and
I have, and I will go with you. The Pilates classes are great. And one thing that I realize is I work out regularly. I can lift a damn barbell and all sorts of weight. I got my butt on that Pilates reformer and was like, girl, hello, wake up call. So that's a whole nother episode, but yes.
Yes, Pilates will kick your butt.
It will kick your butt.
And then having you like, oh, but I'm so long and lean. This is so cool. So anyway, we want to say thank you again, Danielle, for being here. We're so grateful. You've been amazing, and just appreciate you sharing so candidly and practically. As Mel said, it's always very helpful to have things you can really take away. Like, okay, I'm going to go look for some partnerships. I'm going to, make sure that I'm grounded in this. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. This was wonderful. I appreciate you having me, and I can't wait to train you both in Pilates.
Oh, yes. You heard it. So Hatters, we hope that you have heard something that will allow you to feel a little more comfortable, a little more ready to diversify your business, your interests, your opportunities, because as we can see, it is possible to do it in very different ways if you just kind of think about it practically and you really stick to the basics: authenticity, kindness, and making sure that you see and respect the humanity in others. As always, we want to say thank you so much for listening, and we tip our hats to you. The information in this podcast is provided for general informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal, medical, or therapeutic advice. Listening to this podcast does not take the place of developing an individual relationship with a therapist or attorney. If you need help for mental health or legal issues, we strongly encourage you to find a professional in your area who can help meet your individual needs.